because it's one thing. And it is really, as I think it might have even been Bernardo who mentioned in one of his things, if the human eyes and human senses could perceive this complexity as it really is in all colours, and I think we only see 5% of the visible spectrum. If we could see this connectedness, it would be so much easier to not have this forgetting of oneness, so this separation appears. But, as I've said many times, this is the way it's expressing. And in this expression, all of this vibrance and all these characteristics appear. So all of this texture and blossoming and, appear. It's okay. It's like if two plants were there and, it's not what we call perfect in our thinking process, but if a plant blossoms and have flowers and the petals aren't perfectly symmetrical and round and in a beautiful pattern, the plant doesn't say, "Oh, wish my petals were better." It's just life went like that, right? And the plant doesn't worry about any of those things, but we go, "Oh, I should do this better and I should get that back." And it's just this complex mind playing and grasping, and it all roots back to this instinct for survival and control and security. It's such a challenging thing. Human beings, just such a beautiful expression, but so many inbuilt challenges that come through this intellect playing and conflicting with itself, but it's all perfect. This is just the tension created through that is changing other things everywhere. One connected energy. It is all one connected energy. Vibrant aliveness. Vibrant, intelligent awareness, whatever you want to call it, consciousness. It is that. Some people call it consciousness. Some people call it awareness. You can call it intelligent energy, whatever you want to call it. The complexity of that's beyond the comprehension of this beautiful human mind and brain. And just when that's accepted and seen and open to, there doesn't really need to be a feeling of control, because it's just seen that this is just that. All is happening in a beautiful way. That idea of that, the petaling of the flowers that are not perfect, but they happen that way. Human beings are are expressed in this oneness, and there can be the sage who's completely abidingly self-realized and doesn't have any conditioning left. Perhaps there's just complete abiding integration with oneness. It's just it is seen that it is just this, and it does whatever it needs to do as a human being, but it doesn't matter, right? And that might be nothing, or it might be very, very minimal, sitting quietly, and then that's okay. This human being has a different personality and blossoms differently, and that's okay. And it feels like, from this human being's perspective, which is interacting, that there's so much vibrance and interest in life. There's so much complexity and wonderful nature of being aliveness in this, an expression of biology, a contracted biology, expressing with all its characteristics. It's just enjoying itself. So whatever happens, the complexity of whatever happens just enjoys itself. And there are times when there's suffering. There's times when there's physical problems. But they're also seen as just, that's not who I am. Who I am is intelligent awareness, expressing in this. It's one. It's just part of this. You can walk down the street and look at all the trees, and this is you. This is all of that. And a complex more. Whatever I think I'm going to work out with this limited conscious mind will be a contracted version of what could flow later. It'll happen. This is going to happen. Some way it'll happen. It'll be better than if I could have planned it as the identified self. So, but it's all seen as that. So that's why it's just, so you're already looking into this a lot, I say you, but it's just breaking itself down. It's just like every time there's a contraction, every time there's an identification, it's these, and by the way, these meetings are just this reminder for the conditioning to say, Oh, that's not real. Oh, that doesn't matter. Oh, yeah. It's just the reminder from different perspectives, reminding each human being of the same thing. It's just that none of that stuff is real. And that helps the conditioning become more normalized in the subconscious, in the background, which then the reactivity drops away, the unworthiness drops away, the fear of failure, the fear, all that stuff. It sort of all integrates, but it doesn't, for me, there was a crack of awakening that happened in a moment, but the conditioning that still plays is now being seen as an important aspect of this. It's not really important. Nothing's really important. In the story of the mind wanting to improve itself, it's important. There just seems to be an impulse of life to keep exploring this, and part of that has just now weighed back into everything that's happening as a human being is perfectly blossoming and interesting and wonderful. So nothing has to not be that way. But in that investigation that's happening here, the broadness of life has opened up, and so it can play with all its vibrance, and the identification ideas from the background still can play in. They're just not believed anymore. So it's part of the vibrance, part of the texture, part of the tinting of this play. But it's just one thing anyway, so it really is just one thing playing. What's happening there, this, if you just took an energetic ball of snapshot of this, it's just the same thing, energy playing here with the conversation. That's what's happening here. The same life, just playing, massaging, evolving, changing. It's always just changeable now. This is just such a beautiful energetic expression, just interacting and changing. That's all it is. And the importance of the mind thinking, I've got to get it. I had it. How do I get it back? It doesn't matter. It's okay. Let it do that. Just understand that that's an identification that's also appearing, and that doesn't matter either. It's all okay. It is. It really is. Because the one that thinks it's not and resists it is just contracted thought, resisting what's happening anyway, in a complexity that couldn't be comprehended. That little hint of the complexity of what's going on is quite a disarming thing for that illusory character, that entity. If that keeps chipping away at that entity, it's so complex. You couldn't understand it if you tried. That entity can start to get undermined by that. It's all happening together anyway.